Hello, friends and neighbors. I hope you've all had a good day today. I meant to do this video earlier, and I have just spent a lot of time studying this, and I did not get done before the sun went down, so the light's not real good. Another nighttime video. But we're going to go ahead and look at Revelation chapter 6. And I may go into another chapter in another book. We'll have to wait and see how long it takes to get through this. So, let's get started. We're starting with Revelation 6, verse 1. Now remember, in chapter 5, Jesus was given the scroll. He was the only one worthy to open the seals. And in verse 1, now I watched when the Lamb opened one of the 7 seals, and I heard one of the 4 living creatures say with a voice like thunder, "Come!" And I looked, and behold, a white horse, and its rider had a bow, and a crown was given to him, and he went out conquering and to conquer. So the first seal, a lot of people disagree on who the rider is of the first seal. So there is a group of people who believe that this is Jesus, and there are a group of people who believe that this is the Antichrist. In my opinion, I don't think it makes sense that it is Jesus. Because the bow first does not sound like when Jesus comes later on in Revelation. He doesn't come with a bow or a weapon of war. He comes with a 2-edged sword out of his mouth. He's also on a white horse, but there's a 2-edged sword that comes out of his mouth, which is the word. This rider has a bow, but no arrows. The other thing, it says that he comes to conquer. And I do not believe that this is the time when Jesus comes back with the wrath of God. He would not be coming to conquer at the beginning of these seals. It just does not make sense. And the most important clue is the crown. And he actually does not have a crown on. This is another one of those crazy things where the translators made things say what they wanted them to say, because the word for the crown on the rider of the white horse is not the same word for crown that Jesus has on later in Revelation. And the word for crown for this first rider is actually the word that means laurel wreath. And I'm talking about that wreath made out of leaves, like in the ancient Greek times. And actually, I have something on that. Wait a minute, it might be right here. Let me look. There it is. So this is from getty.edu. It is a history of the laurel or the flower crown. It was a Greek and Roman invention. Flower laurel crowns were worn for festivities and celebrations. They were a symbol of victory and power. They were customary at events such as sacrifices to gods and pagan festivals. Now, does that sound like something Jesus would wear? In Rome, the Floralia festival was held in honor of Flora, the goddess of flowers, vegetation, and spring. So it's no surprise that a headpiece made of flower and leaves and vines was the must-have accessory. Although the flower crown was popular in the ancient world, as Christianity spread, it fell out of favor due to its association with pagan festivals. So that's pretty revealing. This crown that the first seal horse rider had on was not a crown like Jesus has on later on in Revelation. It was a laurel wreath worn in honor of victory and pagan celebrations and festivals. Now, another interesting fact is it's a Greek-Roman symbol for victory, and many believe that the one world government will be a revived Roman Empire. Although we haven't studied that yet, and I'm not sure that that is the case, but that is what people believe. So I think it's pretty safe to say that the rider on seal number 1 is not Jesus. I believe that it is the Antichrist, that this rider on white is mimicking or trying to fool people and appear to be Christ. And I believe that it could also mean, and we'll see this as we go along in the other studies, as we go along in the study, great deception. Okay, and let's see. Then when he opened the second seal, I heard the second living creature say, "Come." And out came another horse, bright red. Its rider was permitted to take peace from the earth, so that people should slay one another, and he was given a great sword. So the great sword is a symbol of war. The other clue is to take peace from the earth, so there's war everywhere, and people would be killing each other. So yeah, I think it's safe to say that seal 2 is about war. When he opened the third seal, I heard the third living creature say, "Come." And I looked, and behold, a black horse, and its rider had a pair of scales in his hand. And I heard what seemed to be a voice in the midst of the 4 living creatures, saying, "A quart of wheat for a denarius, and 3 quarts of barley for a denarius, and do not harm the oil and wine." So scales, these are scales that evidently were weighing out food, and I believe that that means famine, because the quart of wheat for a denarius, I believe that was, I should have checked this first, I'm sorry, that was like a day's wages. So a quart of wheat for a day's wages, that's extremely expensive. And the same thing with the barley. And then when it said, "Do not harm the oil and wine," some people believe that that means that the rich, the very wealthy, will not be affected by this famine, because they were the only ones who could afford the oil and wine anyway. So that's just an assumption or a theory. We don't know that for sure. In verse 7, when he opened the 4th seal, I heard the voice of the 4th living creature say, "Come." And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and its rider's name was Death, and Hades followed him. And they, notice the word they were given authority over a fourth of the earth to kill with sword, which would be war, the 2nd seal, and with famine, the 3rd seal, and they've added pestilence and wild beasts, so disease and sickness. And the wild beast, I don't know for sure what that means. Some people believe that it could be that the animals are hungry. There's like no food, no vegetation to eat, and that the animals are hungry. So another theory. And so it kind of looks like, I don't know, when it says, "and they were given authority," I don't know if that meant Death and Hades were given authority, or it means all of the seals before this, because it does mention war and famine and authority. So, it could easily be this is a combination of all of the seals so far. When he opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of those who had been slain for the word of God and for the witness they had borne. Now, many people believe that this is tribulation saints, that what we have experienced up to this point has been part of what they call tribulation, and that these are saints who were killed during these other seals. Then they were each given they cried out with a loud voice, "O sovereign Lord, holy and true, how long before you will judge and avenge our blood on those who dwell on the earth?" Then they were each given a white robe and told to rest a little longer, until the number of their fellow servants and their brothers should be complete, who were to be killed as they themselves had been. So he's telling them, they were being told there are more martyrs coming. Now, I don't believe that these are specifically tribulation saints who were martyred. And the reason I don't is because in all of the ancient rabbinic writings, these are the writings by the Jewish rabbis over the years, they had mentioned these souls under the altar. It was very well known. They had always believed that martyrs from the time of creation who died, who were slain for the word of God, that this is where they were. And so this is not something new that comes from the tribulation period or these seals. This is something that has been going on for a long time. So let's go to verse 12. When he opened the sixth seal, I looked, and behold, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth, and the full moon became like blood. And the stars of the sky fell to the earth as the fig tree sheds its winter fruit when shaken by a gale. The sky vanished like a scroll that is being rolled up, and every mountain and island was removed from its place. Then the kings of the earth, and the great ones, and the generals, and the rich, and the powerful, and everyone, slave and free, hid themselves in the caves and among the rocks of the mountains, calling to the mountains and rocks, "Fall on us and hide us from the face of him who is seated on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of their wrath has come, and who can stand?" So this sounds like that when the sixth seal opens, these people are proclaiming that the wrath of the Lamb has come and the great day of their wrath has come. So this would indicate that the sixth seal is the beginning of the great wrath of God. That is, it says that in two places here. So we'll see a little bit more details about this as we go along. But right now, I want to go look at another chapter in the book of Matthew. And we're just going to talk about a little bit of it because there's a lot of detail in the book of Matthew in chapter 24 and 25. And we're going to be coming back to it off and on as we go through our study of Revelation. But I want to look at the things that are talking about the six seals. It is verifying what is being said about the six seals. And so we're going to go over that part. And it gives us just a little bit more detail. So the background of this chapter is that Jesus had left the temple and he was walking away from it when his disciples came to point out something to him about the buildings. And here's what he said to them. "You see all these, do you not? Truly, I say to you, there will not be left here one stone upon another that will not be thrown down." So he's telling them that this temple is going to be destroyed. And of course, we know that he's also talking about himself because he's getting ready to be crucified. But this temple will be destroyed. So this is a prophetic statement by Jesus. So they went to the Mount of Olives, and they're sitting down there talking. And the disciples came to him away from all of the other people who followed him everywhere. It was just him and the disciples. And this is what they said to him. They asked him some questions. Tell us, when will these things be, and what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age? So I'm going to say here that there is a little controversy over this verse because it is over whether they're asking him 2 questions or whether they're asking him 3 questions. Now, the post-tribulation people, this is the people who believe that Jesus will take away the believers, or what is called the rapture, at the end of the tribulation. Well, they say that the disciples are only asking 2 questions. When will these things happen? And what is the sign of your coming and of the end of the age? So they're combining the sign of your coming and the sign of the end of the age as one event. The people who believe that it's not post-tribulation believe that they're asking 3 questions. When will these things happen? What will be the sign of your coming? And the implied part is coming for us. And then what will be the sign of the end of everything, all of it. So I believe, because I do not believe post-trib. I will just say that. I don't believe, because the Bible says in multiple places that we will not endure the wrath of God. So I believe that we will be either taken or hidden away somewhere or something, but we will not endure the wrath of God. So post-trib does not fit in with those scriptures. So I'll just tell you that. I know for sure I don't believe that. So Jesus starts answering their questions. And you're going to recognize as he's answering, it sounds just like the seals that we just read about. In verse 4, and this is Matthew 24:4, and Jesus answered them, saying, see that no one leads you astray. For many will come in my name, saying, I am the Christ, and they will lead many astray. Now, I want to stop there. To me, this sounds like seal 1 and deception. False messiahs. Now, there's something very interesting about verse 5. For many will come in my name, saying, I am the Christ, and they will lead many astray. I've always wondered about that because it just didn't make sense to me. He's saying many people, a lot of people, are going to come and say, I'm Jesus, and people will just follow after him and be led astray. Now, that doesn't make sense. People, we're too smart for that. It just did not click in my brain. I just don't think that's what's going to happen. But if you take out all of the punctuation, all of the commas, it reads totally different. And here's why that is important about the commas, because when the Bible was written, they didn't have commas. There was no punctuation. It was put in there later by translators and people like that. So let's take it out. And I'm going to make some pauses that may make you think about it differently. For many will come in my name. They will say that I am the Christ, and they're going to lead many astray. Jesus is saying, many will come in my name saying that I sent them, and they're going to agree that I am the Christ, but they're going to lead many astray. You guys, that's happening right now. That's happening right now. People come and say, the Lord told me, or I have a revelation from the Lord, or I am a godly man or a woman. I am working under the inspiration of God. He is the Christ. I do follow the Messiah. And then they will lead them astray with all kinds of false junk. We see that all the time now. That makes sense to me. So I don't know if, it's up to you which way you believe it. But if you take out all the punctuation, the commas and things, and look at it differently, many will come in my name. They will say that I'm Christ, but they will lead many astray. So that makes sense to me. So I believe that is seal 1, false messiahs and deception. Look at what he says next. And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not alarmed, for this must take place. But the end is not yet, for nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. That is seal number 2, war. And what else did it say? Take peace from the earth, people killing each other. Nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. We're there right now. We're on the verge of a world war right now. And then look what he says next. And there will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All of these are but the beginning of the birth pains. Seal number 3, famine. And did you know that, we know how high groceries have gotten now and how high gas is. Let me turn this off. And now that we're having this problem with Russia and Ukraine, gas is going to go sky high. You think it's high now? It's getting ready to go high. The president was on TV tonight saying this is going to get worse. Gas is going to go higher. Groceries are going to go higher. There are right now massive problems with famine in third world countries, unlike anything they have ever seen. So all of these are just the beginning. Then, verse 9, then they will deliver you up to tribulation or persecution and put you to death, and you will be hated by all nations for my name's sake. And then many will fall away and betray one another and hate one another. Seal 4, death. And many false prophets will arise and lead many astray. And because lawlessness will be increased, the love of many will grow cold. But the one who endures to the end will be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be proclaimed throughout the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come. And we're going to see that later on in Revelation as well. Okay, then we're going to skip down to verse 29, because the other part, we'll talk about that when we talk about Daniel. Verse 29. Now, seal 5 is not mentioned here, and it's not actually an event, it's an observation. So it's not mentioned here. So verse 29, immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light, and the stars will fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. And that sounds exactly like seal 6. Let me read seal 6 again. And he opened the 6th seal, and there was a great earthquake. The sun became black as sackcloth, the full moon became like blood, and the stars of the sky fell to the earth. And the sky vanished like a scroll that is being rolled up. Seal 6. Okay, So right there, we have confirmation and more details about seal 6 by looking back at what Jesus said when he described what the end and his coming was going to look like. So that gives us a little more information. And I'm really excited about the rest of it. I feel like the Lord has started showing me some things at 4 o'clock this morning. I woke up and we're going to talk about, I'm trying to think of what we need to do next. I've got to do some videos that are away from Revelations, that are supporting chapters like Matthew 24 was. And so we may look at Daniel or Thessalonians, the thief in the night. I might do a little one tomorrow. But I really been struggling with figuring out a passage in Daniel. And I woke up at 4 o'clock this morning and the Lord gave me something and I said, that's it. That is it. Thank you, Lord. So I'm excited about the rest of the study. I really am. I feel like the Lord is really guiding me in the right direction. And I couldn't do this without him, I'm telling you. He is just helping me one chapter at a time. Isn't that wonderful? He is so good. He is so good to me. And I know he is to you too. So that's all I'm going to do tonight. Tomorrow is Thursday, and we have a Zoom meeting at 7, and we'll be talking about these chapters. But I'd really like to do another little short video tomorrow, if I think I can get it up, get it done, and get it up there. It'll just be a short one, I believe, on, I think I'm going to do it on a couple of portions in the New Testament that kind of describe the rapture. How do we know there is a rapture, and what verses support that? And we're going to look at that. And so I'll see you tomorrow. I love you, friends. Have a good night.